Today, we're going to talk about the ones that got away. Pedals I had and sold and have regretted it ever since. Let's face it, we all sell pedals for one reason or another throughout our guitar playing life. Maybe it's we need the spare cash, maybe we're just not using it anymore, or maybe we even wonder why the heck we bought the thing in the first place. Now, I can't really remember how many pedals I've had and sold over the years, but there have been a fair few. But these are the ones that I really wish I would have thought twice about. Let's get started. The first pedal we're going to talk about is one that's still readily available, the Kangra by Walrus Audio. Now, when I first got it, I loved this thing. It was so cool to have this octave fuzz that you could make sound like an old spitty octave fuzz, but also get something a little bit more modern, a little twist on the theme. But it was that filter, whether you're using it in its envelope mode or just as a static filter. Had I realized the sounds that I could have gotten when I sold it, I most likely would have held on to it. The different opportunities where I thought, man, I really wish I still had that thing in the collection have been far too numerous for me to ignore. Now, of course, I could easily say that, just go buy it again, but it's not like I have money to just go buying back every pedal that I sold years ago. But this is definitely one that I would chalk up to the situation of I needed the money at that point in time, and the person who wanted it was willing to pay me fair price for it. I've run across a ton of amp in the box pedals, and I've held on to most of them, but the one that I sold and really regret selling is the Suhr Riot Distortion. Now, at the time that it came out, this pedal was lauded as one of the better amp in a box high gain distortion pedals, and it lived up to the reputation. There were a few features on it that I didn't quite 100% understand at the time, and to be honest, I still don't really even know what exactly they do, but it was the tone. That's really where it was at. It really captured that sound of an OD100 amplifier with this raging British voiced high gain thing, and it felt great, which a lot of amp in the box pedals around that time were still kind of trying to get right. Suhr got it right with the Riot, and although I have plenty of other high gain amp in a box pedals to choose from nowadays, it still would be nice to hold on to that first one that I really bonded with. Now, if you're still watching this video and having a good time with it, let me know down in the comments section below what pedal you wish that you still had. Let's keep moving on with this list. Now, I know the person I sold this pedal to, and I know for a fact that he's using it and he's having a good time with it, and I couldn't be happier. But I still wish I had my Ibanez Airplane Flanger. I am a huge Paul Gilbert fan. Absolutely huge. I regret selling my PGM 100, but I needed the cash. And in many ways, the Airplane Flanger fell the same way. I needed the cash. A friend wanted it, paid me a fair price, and I was all too eager to take that cash to, well, live. I love to say that I can't eat pedals, but I wish that I could have sustained myself off this one for a while. bond with the MXR style flanger, something that's a little bit warmer and not so rough around the edges. The airplane flanger was a completely different thing for me because it was more getting after that ADA kind of flanger where you could get that really metallic, robotic kind of flanging tone that just was so cool to play around with, that although you have this weird modulation effect, it's also changing up your tone and emphasizing different frequencies that you didn't know were there to begin with. And of course, the takeoff mode, being able to just go brow and just grab people's attention, was so cool. I wish I could still do it. I'm probably gonna end up buying one of these now. Dang it. Now, sometimes you sell pedals because even though you love them, you have no opportunity to use the sound. And even when you create the opportunity, it just doesn't work. And that's how I feel when it comes to the Greer Tomahawk Deluxe Drive. Now, basically what this pedal did was get after sort of a cranked tweed deluxe kind of sound. And the demo I did of it, it was so much fun to have that sound to play around with. But in ensuing months and years, I just didn't end up using it anywhere outside of my studio. It wasn't a sound that I needed for the music that I was creating, and even when I would try to put it in, it just didn't fit. Well, now that I've spent a lot of time playing at church and needing more light to medium gain overdrive, as well as some different flavors of it, I actually feel if I had that pedal, it would be on my board today. Next up on my list of regrets is the pedal that got me into compression. And that is the Philosopher's Tone from Pigtronics. Now, I'm not talking about the little mini guys that they make right now. I'm talking about the one that's basically flipped over on its side and has the input and output jack on one side of this sideways enclosure pedal. I just remember being at Summer NAMM in Nashville back in 2008, 2009 or something, and hearing it for the first time in the hands of awesome Nashville guitar players. Now, I had had a compressor before, but I was really duped by the whole compressor sustainer thing. But the Philosopher's Tone really gave me a sense of what a compressor can really do. Add into the fact that Pigtronics was at the time a company that didn't leave well enough alone, and they had to improve upon the platform. It was the first compressor I saw with some sort of tone shaping on it. It had the treble knob that you could add a little bit of that sheen back into your sound, and of course, the grit control, a fuzzy, super compressed distortion sound that you could layer underneath your clean guitar sound. That was something I used a lot back when I had it, and although I can still buy some variation of it today, it's that original one that I really want to have back in the collection, and all these years later, I wish I would have just held on to it. finally, we have reached the end of my list of regrets, and I can stop being slightly depressed about not having these things anymore. It's 2 pedals, and they both come from ZVEX Effects, my Vexter Fuzz Factory and my Super Duper 2-in-1. Now, I actually bought both of these pedals on recommendation from a band that I followed all over California, or at least Southern California, in my high school years, called Wires on Fire. You might be familiar with them a little bit because their bassist is the current bassist for Queens of the Stone Age. Well, we all lived in the same area. A couple members of the band went to my high school. Some members of their circle went to my high school, and I followed them around because they were kind of an inspiration to me. And they all, bass and 2 guitars, loved ZVEX pedals. And the ones that I was recommended to check out were the Fuzz Factory and the Super Duper 2-in-1. By now, I don't need to explain anything about the Fuzz Factory. It is legendary for a reason. But it's that Super Duper 2-in-1. That's the thing that I'm like, man, if I had that sound right now, I would be using it like crazy. Essentially, what it did was it paired 2 super hard-on pedals in one pedal. Now, the first one was just normal, but the second one that came after it had a master volume linked to it. So you could essentially set one to be more of like a typical clean boost with a slight emphasis in the high end, and then you could goose the gain on the second one, but use the master volume to tame it. And then of course you run both of them together and you get this super clipped, crazy distortion sound that sometimes sounds like you're running direct into a mixing board, sometimes sounds like you're about to literally destroy the preamp of your amplifier. But although I don't have any recordings of the Super Duper 2-in-1, it's like, man, that thing needs to come back in some way, shape, or form for me in the very near future. And as far as the Fuzz Factory goes, anybody out there got a Bliss Factory they want to sell? Oh, and finally we can stop talking about the pedals that got away. I feel like this whole video was like listening to some guy talk about an ex-girlfriend that just starts to get really annoying after a while. But I'm sure that some of these pedals are gonna come back into my life in some way, shape, or form in the near or the far-flung future. And that's not to say that I don't enjoy having what I have right now. I love getting in new pedals, but every once in a while, I pine for the things that were. I guess that is the definition of nostalgia. I don't know. But I certainly hope you all liked this little look at the pedals that I wish I still had. If you haven't done so already, let me know in the comments section below what pedals you wish you still had. And if you enjoyed this video, help support this channel by giving it a thumbs up, sharing a link to it with a guitar playing friend of yours, and of course, click that subscribe button down there and ring the notification bell. But what I'd really love for you to do is sign up for my email list. That way, a link to every video I make is delivered direct to your inbox. You can sign up by clicking the card in the top right corner of your screen, putting this URL into your web browser of choice, or clicking the link in the description box down below. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with me, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until we see each other again, I'm Sean Pierce Johnson, wishing you watching great tone, great health, and of course, happy stomping. Cheers, friends. See you in the future. God bless.